Hello, everyone. Welcome to Embody Prosperity. This is a retreat designed for women entrepreneurs, for visionaries, leaders, healers, coaches, transformational facilitators, anyone who is seeking to embody their natural state of prosperity in all facets of business and life. The potent conversations held within this sacred container will act as a portal, inspiring new ways of shifting your awareness and elevating your inner frequency so that you can attract the abundance that you are. So today's featured speaker is a beautiful soul. She's a business coach who helps soulful female coaches start and grow their businesses. And she's just rocking it. I love her approach, her style. And just like me, she views herself as like a spiritual midwife for her clients as they birth their businesses and their dreams into life, into form. So I'm really excited to share in a conversation with her today. Her name is Kadidja Yansane. Welcome, Kadidja.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone.
No problem, Kadidja. It's amazing to have you. So a little bit about Kadidja. Kadidja Yansane is the founder of Bloom Into You and the creator of the signature program, The Client Creation Queen. Get clients, get paid, and live your sacred calling. She has coached and consulted with dozens of Fortune 500 companies like Visa, Charles Schwab, Clorox, and Robert Half, and more. She's been trained by and worked directly with top 7-figure leaders in the coaching industry. And over the past decade, she's coached and trained hundreds of her clients to do things like get their first 10K month, get their first and next paying clients, create and develop their profitable niche, lead their first workshops, start and grow their own communities online and offline, charge more for their services, package their offerings for high profits, position themselves as experts in their respective field. Kadidja was a women's studies major at UC Berkeley and is a certified coach. Her life and passion has been devoted to empowering women to own their value, charge what they're worth, and do what they love. Last but certainly not least, she's the proud mama of 2, Naima, 7, and Khalil, 6, with her husband and business partner, Mike. They live in San Francisco Bay Area. Amazing. Amazing, amazing. So today, your talk topic is the spirit of prosperity. So before we dive in, Kadidja, will you tell us a little bit about you? I would love to hear a little bit about your journey into coming into being such an amazing, soulful business coach for women. And, I'm just always so fascinated by our journeys as entrepreneurs. And I love to hear about like that turning point or that defining moment when you realize that you are truly doing what your soul has always like yearned to do, has always called you to do. So if you can pinpoint that, because a lot of times there's many of those moments, but
Yes.
maybe there's a major one.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like we have glimpses of what we can be at many junctures in our life. And sometimes it takes us time to catch up to the vision we have for ourselves. I think that I always, on one level, saw myself as a teacher. I didn't know the word coach then, but oftentimes when I was sitting in classes with other teachers, I'm a lifelong student. I love to learn, and I was definitely present there as a student. Yet, I also saw myself like I see myself, hosting my own workshops or creating my own methodology, but it felt really far away. And it took me some time to really own that I myself was a teacher. And I see this a lot in my practice where people see themselves as students, as learners, and it's hard to own and acknowledge that you're also a teacher, that you've also gained so much from your life and professional experience. And when I had my daughter 8 years ago, I was at a turning point and I was doing body work and using my hands. And, I never got like diagnosed with carpal tunnel syndrome or anything like that, but I noticed that I was having a lot of pain in my wrists. I also felt like I felt like there was more for me to be doing. And I did have a coaching certification and I went through a great program, but they didn't really teach me how to get clients. So I just kind of sat on my knowledge and did other things. I was a high school counselor. I went on and did body work. And then I realized that I was faced with, well, I still need to earn. And, I feel like I always struggled in positions. And I think that I was always a great worker and a strong employee, but I oftentimes felt limited by my role. But I couldn't bring all of myself, my personality, my spirituality, my colorfulness to my jobs. And so I felt restricted. And it just felt like it got more painful, Kate, to be like,
Yeah.
know that there's more for me. And like having this insecure, doubtful story, not enough story. And then you have to, like, I don't think that you have to reach a point where you're over it. But for me personally, I was over it.
Mm-hmm.
And I began to do the first thing I did to put my business out there was I started a woman's circle in my living room. And I didn't teach my own thing yet because I wasn't confident in it yet, but I thought, I'm going to teach this. I'm going to facilitate this class. And I don't know, have you heard that book, Calling in the One?
I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it. Yeah, yeah.
Ironically, at the time, I was also in a place of just like, I'm ready to settle down. I want to be my one. I want to have a family. And I thought, I had this book on my shelf, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate that, people give you these books or you get these books, and for whatever reason, you're just not ready to read it. But I was ready to read it, not only read it at this time, but actually go through the exercises. So I gave myself permission to facilitate this woman's circle with this book as a guide, even though I hadn't manifested the one. And of course, I had all these voices like, you can't facilitate that. You haven't called in the one. But guess what? Once I started doing that, I was like, oh my gosh, I saw how I was in my element. It was natural for me to bring people together. It was natural for me to coach, to guide, to ask questions that I didn't have to know the answers, that we were in this co-creative inquiry together. And ironically, during that process, I reconnected with my now husband and father of my children, Mike. And I didn't recognize him as the one right away, but that's a whole nother story, but we
Yeah,
ended up
I can
being
imagine.
together. And so the point I'm saying is that I feel like when you start going in the direction of what you truly feel called to do, not only does life open up for you, like your business, your income, but all the things that you want. So I didn't know necessarily, I was hoping that I was going to find my partner, but I did in that process. And to make a long story short, I was trained to be a life coach in my program. I never would have expected that I would become a business coach, but through leading these groups, people started asking me for similar things, which was, can you help me get clients? And after that happened several times, I said, okay, I guess my niche has found me. And I feel like all the things that I get to bring to my business, whether that's spiritual teachings, whether that's, intuitive insights, whether it's around prosperity and manifesting, it all is there in my niche. And so I'm now serving women as a business coach and helping them package their gifts, their offering into their body of work that they want to share with others.
That's so beautiful. I love that. Like, I love what you said, first of all, about, just when you start going into the direction of where your soul is calling you to go, that different doors will open up for you. And for you, it was in many different ways, clearly, which is amazing. And then I love that, like, your niche found you, like so many, even my clients too. It's like, we make it so hard sometimes, like, to figure out what our message is or who we're supposed to help exactly. But it's like, if we're listening, if we're just attentive and aware, it's like there's signs, and people will be telling us, like, this is what I need. And I love that your niche found you like that. And also with these like life coaching programs, I find, and health and wellness too, I did a certification program for that a long time ago. It really is, there's a lack for the client attaining, or
Mhm.
client magnetizing
Yeah,
process.
yeah.
So I love that you do that and serve in that way primarily, but obviously with many other gifts attached. So in terms of prosperity, do you want to talk a little bit about just what it means to you, and how you guide your clients into attaining it or embodying it?
Yes. Well, I was listening to your intro in the beginning, and I can't remember the words that you use now, but what I got was that we already have it now. And I think that so often people have the mistaken belief that they're in scarcity and they're trying to get to prosperity. Whereas if you're willing to just drop in and realize that you're starting from prosperity, that our very life is a miracle, that nature is such a beautiful illustration of prosperity. Prior to our call, we were talking about redwood trees, and you were talking about your home in the mountains. And I was sharing with you that I have redwood trees in my backyard. That if you really get into your bones, that you are starting with prosperity. Like if you're even watching this interview series, that you have the inclination to follow a training, a retreat on embodying prosperity, you're already, it's hard to believe because we take so many things for granted. You might take for granted that you're on a computer, and most of the world does not have a computer, that that we are here together on Zoom, and it was easy for us to connect. And so I want you to remember that you're already starting from prosperity. There's so many functions in our body. Like, I'm not making myself breathe as I'm talking to you right now. I'm not making my eyelashes blink, my eyelids blink as I'm talking to you right now. I'm not thinking about my heart beating. None of that. All of that is happening through me. And so my first remembrance that I would encourage you to walk from, to move from, is that you're starting with prosperity. Like, even just, I don't know what stage you are in your business. Some of you are at the beginning stage. Some of you may already be seeing clients and you want to open to greater prosperity. That in itself is a prosperous idea, that whether you believe in God or spirit, like that is implanted in your heart, in your mind. And our creativity is our creativity, our imagination is the source of our prosperity. And I think that when we begin to move and make decisions from that place, so much shifts for us.
Wow, I was getting so many goosebumps when you were speaking because it's just so true, and it's so something that we can just dismiss so easily because we're always like looking outside of ourselves
Yeah.
to like believe that we need that in order to feel prosperous. Yet it's like within us, we're born prosperous because we have spirit in us. And you even said like, you know, it's all happening through me. And I just imagined, you know, spirit like moving through into me, through me, as me, so we're like prosperity in motion, basically,
Our
right?
prosperity in motion. And, I don't want to pretend as though I have never forgotten that. I would say when I first started my business, well, I should say this. When I first started looking at other coaches online and was looking at how to expand my business online, so much was outward focused. And I think there is an element of, you're learning from what other people are doing, you're seeing that it's possible, and all of that is incredibly beneficial. But the place where it can be harmful is that, like, you give away your power to everything that you're seeing, and you forget that what you're admiring in another, you possess yourself, and you have your own version and own way of bringing it forth. Is So I feel like that there's a way that it's easy to take, give your power away. And part of embodying prosperity is just to come back to our own body, and come back to our own gifts, come back to our own heart. I mean, it's so valuable. Oftentimes, like, I'm always encouraging people to place their hands on their bodies, and it's like, come back here. And
Mm-hmm.
like, this is the place from where your creativity is. It starts here and then it expands out. So anything that you're finding inspiring in this conversation or in this series that you're watching, like if it's activating something inside of you, hopefully a good coach is, pointing you back to yourself, pointing you back to your own wisdom, pointing you back to your own inner knowing. It's not about like this person's doing it better. And like on one level, like it doesn't even matter what other people are doing. Like I feel like for me now, and I just shared celebrated my 46th birthday. Like I just feel like there's just no more time. Like I just I feel like I just don't, it's just not relevant to me to follow other people unless it's like supporting who I want to be in the world. Like I feel like your gifts, it's about your relationship with the divine, your relationship with how you want to serve, your relationship with your purpose and the legacy that you want to leave, on this planet. And so just any practice, I think all practices are like pointing us back to ourselves and to the imprint that we want to make and be like, I was here and this is what I did. And so anything that helps you quiet the noise, um, come back to like, what is it that I want to do? Focus on your plans, your dreams, whether it's your book, your program, your clients, your community is, you know, like in school, they used to say, keep your eyes on your own test. Keep your eyes on your own test. Um, yeah, keep your
That's
eyes on
so,
the test.
yeah. I mean, I'm glad we're addressing this because, and I'm thank you for sharing so truthfully about like your own journey and how you also in the beginning did it, because also, same with me. Like I'm not gonna lie, like initially as you're trying to build momentum and confidence and really anchor into your self-worth, I think that's what we naturally do because we're just conditioned to do that. We're conditioned, but we also learn that way. We learn from modeling, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it's just part of who we are. So it's kind of a hurdle to get get over, but I think that I love, like, you're like, I'm 46 and now I'm just, you're in your power. It's like there's no need to look around to see what else everyone else is doing because you're just in touch with that true prosperity, that spark inside of you. um but I love that we're talking about this because it's so real. It's something. And even as established entrepreneurs, I think that you can also fall back into it, especially if you're, launching a new program, or you've, up leveled your pricing, or you're scaling and you're moving, from one to one to group, whatever it may be. I think that we're prone to falling into that trap of like really like searching outside of ourselves for the answer. But yeah, it's so beautiful to remember, and just the way you talked about it, just coming back to the body, laying the hands on the heart. It's just so simple, but so dismissed, so easily dismissed. So thank you for reminding us.
Welcome. It
So
is simple, but something that we can do in any situation, you know what I mean? Whether you're doing an interview like this, sometimes I have like a crystal in my hand, doing little things that help me drop in and get out of my head and into my body.
and so aside from the head the head piece, which is a big one, because and our brain is a wonderful thing, but our mind is really within our whole body, right? So um, when we are talking about prosperity and when you're working with your clients, say, what are some other blocks that you see and find when you're trying to guide them into creating, really getting in touch with their unique uh, soul's mission and their unique creativity?
Sure. Well, I would say that one block I see is not having a vision of prosperity that's truly their own. So, one of the first things that we do is have them define prosperity for themselves, prosperity, success for their own lives. It's interesting because I don't know if you hear this in your practice, but it seems like $10,000 a month. I see that a lot in my forms, like as that's the pinnacle, right? And then And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think your number is your number, but I think it's worth examining, like, why is it that the number is that, like, based in some financials that you did, that you looked at the life that you want and you know how much it cost and that's the number, or is that the number that you imagine you need? I'll share a little story with you. I remember there was a time, like, my goal was just to make $5,000 and I wasn't tracking my expenses, and I didn't even realize I was already making that, Kate, because I wasn't tracking my money. And so it's so funny how in my mind I was thinking, oh, if I could just make $5,000 a month, I'd be set. And
Mhm.
so I started tracking my spending and expenses, and I realized, well, A, that I was already making that and it didn't feel different, and I didn't even know that I was making that. So it's amazing. I have worked with clients where they're not really clear on how much they're actually bringing in. Um, and, like, how much do you actually need or require to have your version of a comfortable life? One of the other things and so I would say another thing is just not being grounded in the numbers about what you need. And even though I'm saying that, that's has been a practice that I've resisted, and have also found it to be really miraculous. I would say that time too, when I started tracking, that I just noticed more money coming in. Sometimes people say it's just that because you're putting more attention on what you put more attention and focus on, that's what grows. And so I was paying a lot more attention to my money. So to go back to answer your question, one block is to not have a version of success that's actually theirs. And so the first thing is to be like, well, what do I really need this? And that really shifts when you know what you actually need and what you actually want. Your number might be higher, it might be lower. Um, Another block is not recording, not being, intimate, not knowing where your expenses and your money, what you need, what's coming in, what's going out. Another thing is, like, not knowing what you want that money for. Like, how do you imagine it's going to make you feel? And a lot of times, even, smart women who are, I would say, sophisticated, I would imagine, I feel like the people that are watching this have done a lot of work on themselves, um, but not really knowing, like, how you feel having that money is going to make an impact on your life. And then the fourth thing that I would say is, I just had a brain, it came and it passed. The fourth thing that I wanted to say, um, was waiting. Yes. The fourth thing is, like, waiting. When you have it, then you'll be happy. So it's like, okay, when I have this certain number of followers, then I'll be
Mhm.
happy. When I get this certain number of clients. And it's like, I know if you're watching this, you already know that, but it's like somehow we still do that, like, postpone our happiness until we get the vision of success, rather than how can I make my life feel prosperous now? What are the things that I can do now to nurture that sense of prosperity? I was going to say peace, but, whatever the values that are important to you, whether it's freedom, whether it's integrity, whether it's justice, like, how can you do those things now? Oftentimes we're like, well, I want to get the money so I could be of service. I want to get the money so I could donate. And there's always something to do where you are right now. And on a level, I feel like you already know that. And I'm just reminding you of that
We
inner.
need those reminders. That's,
Yes,
I
of like,
mean, we really do, all constantly. I mean, that's the
yeah,
power of repetition too. That's
yeah,
why repetition is needed for this, because it's so ingrained. We need to create those new neural pathways and you know, engrave those new neural pathways of prosperity, and, like, remembering. I love that last one about, um, well, first of all, the waiting one, why wait?
yeah,
We do it, but why wait? Start being prosperous now. Start thinking, acting, behaving, making decisions from the prosperous you now. It's just so powerful, because that's exactly how you magnetize it towards you, at a quicker rate. But yeah, so amazing, amazing. So what about you personally, Kadidja? Like, is there any blocks that you personally had to overcome on your journey?
yeah. So many. And I feel like I'm a continual work in progress. So one was like that I just shared, that even just recording my expenses, and I have, um, that was very clarifying for me, because I wasn't raised to do that, even though, like you get told all these things around money. So definitely learning to track my expenses. I do now work with a bookkeeper, and that's really, I love having appointments with her to just be really clear. And it's like, oh, I spent a lot of money on personal development. Having that clarity. And then even just, my husband had been telling me for some time, he's like, Kadidja, get an Acorn account. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be that much. And so I don't know why I wasn't hearing him for some time, even though he was telling me. And then I was just like, I'm just going to start with like a little small amount, $10 a week. I don't even feel it. And so, just beginning to like, I thought I had a mind of like, I don't get investing, right? But just slowly learning, reading, talking to people. Like my desire, like I see myself as a financially savvy woman, like when I, like my highest vision of myself is I'm savvy in a lot of ways, but I want to highlight and emphasize financially savvy. And so for you, like, what does it mean to be, good with money? And so I know that we both have both a soulful and a practical approach. And so there are things that I love to read that help nurture my emotional relationship to money, as well as like practical things that are easy to fall asleep with. And I think naming things have really helped. Naming things, like instead of calling it my student loan debt, I've been like, that's my Ivy League education.
Nice. Yeah.
And so really like where can I like take any like shame, guilt out of my ignorance or not knowing, and shift that into like empowerment, and how can I teach my kids new things so that they are not afraid of money, and that like they've got their little piggy banks, and it's like, oh, what do you want to save to do something. And so
Mhm.
I feel like I'm constantly upgrading my relationship to earning and abundance. But then I think too, just really deepening into like how abundant I am now, and like just the practice of gratitude, of being grateful for not only the things I have, but the experiences I have, the opportunities I have, and literally writing them down, not just thinking about them. Um, but connecting to all the things that I'm so grateful for that money can't buy.
Yeah, and what does that do? That instantly like shifts your frequency. Like as you're writing the gratitude list, like
Yes,
you could be like depressed one moment before, but then as you're tuning in, it's like it literally just magically elevates that frequency, and you're tapping into your true nature, right?
yes,
So yeah, I love that. And when you were saying like about how you see yourself as savvy with money. I have been working on that for a long time, because of the whole money management thing has always kind of been like a little Achilles heel for me.
yes,
And so I have like reminders in my phone, like I am this abundantly I'm a financially sovereign woman, and I love managing my cash flow. I love tracking my expenses. Like I have to remind myself that that is my truth, that like otherwise I will forget, and I will fall back into, I don't want to do the tracking. I don't want to meet with my bookkeeper. And even just hiring the bookkeeper, by the way, was a big up leveling for
yes,
me, to know that like that's something that I want to like implement within my business, and have that sacred care, um, for my business and the money that is coming in
yeah.
and out.
Well, that's also just making me think of um, clarity, like the empowerment that comes from clarity. Like I think there have been times, or probably for most of my life, where it's just like, either I'm lazy to be clear, or I don't want to be clear. and then looking for things that feel downhill. And so I've had different tracking methods over the years. And then recently I was just like, oh, because I was, we just bought a house, lots of expenses. And I was like, where did that go? And so even just in online in my bank account, I'm like, you can change the description of things. So I've been having so much fun just changing. So it's like, oh, it feels really good to know, oh, that was Khalil's birthday cake. That was this. And just that level of clarity feels really empowering to me. And the lack of clarity just didn't feel great, because it just felt like it felt wasteful, even though it wasn't wasteful. It's because it just kind of went into a hole. And so now, like, that, having that clarity feels necessary. And I guess I keep coming back to the word empowering, because that's what it is. It feels, take your power back with your finances, take your power back.
Yeah, and it's like giving purpose to the money versus it just being like sucked into the vortex of like never ending. Like and we'll continue to ignore, and because it doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel good. So yeah, it just increases and amplifies that like desire to like push money away, and because we feel like it's just being sucked away, but or it's slipping through our fingers. But yeah, I love giving money a purpose, and then it feels so you can connect it back to your heart, back to what we were saying, like it's back to our values and what we really want to use money for, and why we want to make those 10K months or 20K or 30K months, right? Yeah. Amazing. So this has been really enlightening. I wanted to ask you one final question that I've been asking most of my speakers, which is always a fun one. What sacred feminine archetype do you feel like you're closely embodying right now? And that, because I know it's always changing. And you may work with many different archetypes, but what's the one primary archetype that you feel like you're embodying right now in your business, in your life? And how is she perhaps helping you evolve and grow and really embody your prosperity?
Oh, so interesting. So the first thing that came to mind was mother, but not because I'm a mother, but I feel like I'm in a place like, I- it feels weird to say it, but like, so I just moved and I want a garden. I want to like be in the earth, and so mothering things, mothering myself, giving myself the attention and space that I need to thrive, loving on my kids, loving on my business. So I just feel like this like mother nurturing, and not like, I don't mean it in the put everyone before myself kind of way,
Yeah.
but it feels different.
We know that archetype.
Yes.
Rescuer.
But then also she's, there's a fierceness there too. So that's what first came to mind so just like, there's so many ways that I feel like I want to pour my love.
Beautiful.
So that feels best described under the mother archetype.
So beautiful. And like, I feel like that is truly like the mother archetype is so prosperous because she's so full of love, right? She's not giving from an empty well. She's giving because she's nourished, she's full, she's, and she's just got this abundance and wellspring of love in her. So yeah. And I imagine I see you with your garden, Kadidja. I see it happening, you with your fingers in the earth and really just loving on that earth, on our mama, our great mama.
Yes.
And yeah, this is yeah, just so beautiful, so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So I guess we can briefly discuss your free gift if you want to share a little bit about that for our
Absolutely. Yeah, so my free gift is the ultimate guide to client creation, and it's a beautiful workbook. It's based on a workshop by the same title. Well, actually, the title of the workshop is Manifest Clients Now, and in it, I cover the 4 M's, and we go over manifesting, the key ingredients to manifesting and what sometimes is missing from people's manifestation practices. We cover how to like really just expand, anchor in your mindset, how to market in a way that feels authentic and natural to you. And of course, we talk about money, 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 how to earn more, keep more, and just the reciprocal flow of giving and receiving, how important that is, and to allow yourself to receive more.
Yeah. And that comes back to the mother archetype too, is like, she's always receiving too, you know, she's giving and receiving, giving and receiving.
Yes.
So, yeah. All right. Well, this has been such an enlightening and great conversation with so many helpful reminders and tips on how to really embody our prosperity. So thank you, Kadidja, and we'll see everyone next time.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.